Brand new episode of the Real Life Podcast, and this is a very weird episode of the pod. Jay and BM are in meetings all day.
Perfect.
Chalmers said if they're not coming, I'm not coming.
Perfect.
And so it's me and you.
Well, you know what? This reminds me of when every few years a member of Menudo would go solo. Like Ricky Martin. He got bigger than Menudo. Next thing you know, he was living La Vida Loca. We too could go solo.
And Ricky Martin's never had any bad press.
Oh, hush. That was all settled with a few checks.
Yeah, sure. Music, I get the notifications for the Oilers Nation Instagram because I post on the camp.
Of course.
I start seeing these notifications about a band that's coming and playing and all
weird.
of this.
It's like we're living the same life.
Well, yeah. Whenever you talk to anyone, I also get pinged for it. I don't want to turn it off because sometimes there's also important business that goes down in the Oilers Nation.
You never
DMs.
respond to anybody bitching that they don't get Nation gear.
I'll screenshot it sometimes.
That doesn't help me. Sometimes I'm going through and I'm like looking for people praising us, and it's people complaining. I'm like, 20 people have access to this account. Yet no one responds to any issues but Wanye.
No. I remember this was a while back, but I opened one up and it was someone who wanted a refund. And they were like, your refund's been sent. And they were like, I don't want it back on my card. I want cash. Aww. And I was like, do you have any idea how e-commerce works?
Yeah, I don't think
you don't just get a stack of money.
No. So the band, yes. Yeah. Yes. It's strange, but yes, we have a weird relationship. It's like a husband and wife that share an iCloud. You know what I'm saying? Every time I save a screenshot, you'll know everything I'm doing.
Yeah.
When this show began, Real Life, in 2017, longtime listeners will remember, poor folks, it was me, Gregor, and Strudwick before they went Menudo on me and left. And I was in Mexico most of the time, working on a startup down there. And in my time in Mexico, I have like a whole set of friends down there. They're like my legit boys. And they include this rock band that I used to roll with called the Mud Howlers. And the Mud Howlers are like some friends of mine who like came together, made a band, and then did awesome in Latin America. And they had, I think, 3 albums and an EP. They had Grammy Award-winning producers, Latin Grammys, but they're in Latin America. Jesus, you're empty.
That adds up.
Yeah. And so Mud Howlers, awesome, the best. I was their roadie. Like I went to Coachella with them. I went to South by Southwest with them. They let me wear a jean jacket. They let me go on stage, your Chuck.
They have over 20,000 monthly listeners.
Yeah, man, they're legit. Awesome. And they let me be their roadie. So I'd go to all these music festivals with these Mexican guys, and then we all lived in a house together in Mexico City for like 6 weeks one time. And they're like recording their debut album, and I live in a house with them, and it's like all gravy, right? So these are like my OG boys.
This is so far from the life that I know of you. Because this was before I worked at The Nation. You were doing this.
I've had a life before you, Tyler.
Well... It's not how I usually roll, but anyways.
I also did the podcast from
there.
Because I'm like, I'm bringing it with me. It's real life, right?
Okay.
So obviously, of late, there hasn't been as much travel, right? I still work with people in Hermosillo, in the town these guys are from, but they DM'd me the other day. One of their side projects is coming to Edmonton for a music festival called the Winterupt Festival.
Okay.
And my boys from Sgt. Papers are coming to town. So I'm going to get them on the show on Monday if we can make it work on their end.
Yeah, I don't see why.
How sick is that?
Why not?
Season 1, our intro for this show was their song.
Really?
Yes. Huh. We should get Felipe. This is the guy we're going to talk to. And he's like the brains of the operation. He's a full-on music producer.
Okay.
Right? He's like one of these prodigies. He can play any instrument. Just sits down.
He's one of those guys who can hear a song once and then just spit it right out.
Or is like, oh, I have a song in my head. What about this? Tang, 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 tang. And he has a new song that fast. So he runs this giant recording studio. And he's in these projects. And I think the Mud Howlers are still together. We're going to have to ask him on the air. We'll put the fucking beats to him if they said they broke up. That's bullshit. If you're talented, you got to stick with the craft.
That's why there's been 443 episodes of this podcast.
If you're not talented, you just keep trying like we do.
Yep, exactly.
So, yeah, my boy from Sgt. Papers. That's what's going on in the DMs. Because Wanye's Instagram is deactivated. He's like, I sent it up like a flare. I just sent it to Oilers Nation thinking it would somehow get to you. I'm like, or I respond to it. Because unlike your Chuck, I actually look at the messages. You just like to know there's messages.
I responded. Yes, that is true. I responded to one the other day, which is from our guy Tristan, who was on the Vegas trip. And he sent a meme about having a gambling problem. Well, and he said, this is Tyler. And I responded. I said, you take it easy, Tristan.
There's a lot of good content in the DMs you can repost.
Yeah.
Well, you got to go through them. It's traumatic. I hate checking DMs.
Yeah,
It's just such a bizarre. There's 90,000 people. Some lady was sending quotes from Jesus the other day. There's another person who like
paying off debts for the next 5 people.
Oh, I bet you I delete, no exaggeration, 100 of those comments a day. Off all the accounts I run.
You would think by this point Instagram would have some sort of a filter for that.
They don't want to fix it. I feel like they could fix it if they want to fix it.
Yeah. I guess.
The messages don't really change all that much.
No, like if there is a comment that checks the marks of pay off debt or debt and then a dollar amount.
All caps.
Yeah, just boot.
Don't allow all caps.
Boot it. Just boot it. It's gone. And Instagram would be a much cleaner place.
This is why Elon brought out the check mark for Twitter. Because he assumes no bots will pay $8 a month.
The only issue was that a lot of normal people also don't want to pay $8
But that's
a month.
okay. You're not getting penalized. But just like if you're looking at it as Twitter, which as high as 80% of their accounts might be spam. Did you see that?
That's crazy.
80% of Twitter accounts are bots. When they're looking at their network, they got to find a way to fix this. So making people pay. There's a lot of people who are paying.
Yeah. Oh, I'll interact with people who have like 40 followers and I'll be like, oh, wow, you paid for the check mark.
I think what Elon is doing is working. Like he slashed the workforce by like 70% because everyone quit. Then he introduced a revenue stream they were never going to bring out and scale that seems to be working. Like he may have actually swung this thing in a super fast timeline.
But is he going, because he's in the hole a considerable amount now, right?
Oh, 45B, but you have a company theoretically worth 45B.
Potentially, yeah.
He was at the World Cup in Qatar, meeting with sheikhs, meeting with Jared Kushner, meeting with Satan himself, who knows? And he's getting a round of investment at that 45.
Isn't that concerning then with who he's getting a round of investment from?
These are the only type of people who have the type of liquid funds.
Yeah.
When you're like the WWE selling to the Saudis, if that happens, there's nobody else looking to buy the WWE.
Yeah.
Right? Like Disney wants to get rid of ESPN. It's not going to buy the WWE. Huh. There aren't that many companies that have the resources. And then the Saudi like investment vehicles that get put together by the government and shit. They'll give Ronaldo. You see, they made an offer to Messi for $450 million. That's not about soccer. That's about like tourism.
It's like tourism and to an extent sport washing.
Yeah, sport washing. I didn't know if we wanted to say that word.
Yeah.
We can say sport washing. No one else is here but us.
It's our show today.
Sport washing.
I don't even know how long we'll go. I have an interview with the on the bench guys coming up because we're going to hang out with them down in Jasper. We'll have more on that in just a second. Also have to give some love to our friends at AMA Travel as well. Trip to Toronto coming March 10th to 12th. NationGear.ca is where you can find it. You saw how much fun we had in Vegas thanks to our friends at AMA Travel. So you can join us in the 6th, the big smoke.
We can talk about anything we want. What nationality do you hate the most? Just kidding. We can't say that kind of stuff in 2023.
No, I would even argue team.
For me, it's Scottish people. They've been getting away with murder for too long.
The thing I always find funny is every like nationality they almost all at this point have the reputation of being cheap.
Really?
I always find that. It just feels like if you're an Irish person, you're always like, oh man, I'm cheap. You know, Irish people are cheap. Like Ukrainian people, oh man.
Is this a Rorschach test? Are you cheap and you just see it in everyone else? You're not cheap. You ball out.
Not really. But, you know, I always just feel like every culture is like, you know, we're cheap, right? We're whatever.
All I knew about Scotland was plaid. And then I watched Braveheart. I was like shocked that like the Scots were this savage. And ever since then, because of Braveheart, I've always feared the Scots. There. Because there's only 2 of us, I can get out a confession.
I don't quite understand that, but that's fine.
What do you mean, Braveheart? You've never seen?
I know, I've never seen Braveheart.
Oh, they were so mean to Braveheart.
There was a guy named Braveheart in it?
I think so. William Wallace.
Okay.
But they pulled him apart with a horse. Well, I just ruined the movie for you. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. You were never going to watch Braveheart, were you?
No, I'm not a big
Why? Don't you want to be a man?
Right now, I'm really into that tennis documentary on Netflix.
For the love of God. Do you have no outside of sport interest? Well, you have hip-hop. You're deep down that route.
I have hip-hop. We've gone down that one. Do I have outside of sport interests? Not overly.
You're like
reality TV.
You have to know everything about sports. That's a full-time job.
I like reality TV.
We could talk about
I want to get into MILF Manor.
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
No, but I've watched a lot of clips, and that's close enough. My problem with these shows is if I get into it,
it's your whole life.
I get into it.
Yeah.
Right? Remember when I was so crazy about Big Brother?
Yeah.
I was into it. I was too far down the rabbit hole. The only thing I can allow myself to do that with is Oilers hockey. Because when I'm on Twitter for 9 hours a day for Oilers hockey, I'm doing it as Oilers Nation. So I'm technically working.
That makes sense. They've been playing freaking lights out recently.
4 wins in a row. That's preposterous.
Tampa rolling into town tonight.
Man, I can't believe how fast Evander Kane came back.
Hey, he was sitting right here once.
Was he saying there? Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he was sitting right here
when
next
he
to me.
gets a skate and they cut him all the way back to next Thursday, how do his ligaments heal that fast?
I think it really probably, like, healed to an extent and healed to the point where he can't re-injure himself. Like, you know, like he can't shoot and have it, like, break
But, like,
open.
how
like
isn't his wrist just flip-flopping around like a fish fillet?
He kind of told us that he doesn't really have a ton of feeling in
But
his
then how are you playing hockey at a high level and you seem to be?
Because if you can grab the stick, you don't really need, like, feeling in your thumb, do you?
I don't know. I thought that there was, like, numbness in his forearm, too, and he's worried about his strength, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he passed all those tests, so he's back.
One thing I know about professional athletes, especially professional hockey players, and I do know some of them, believe it or not. Yes, I was in a Mexican rock band, too, while we were at it. I'll bring in my jean jacket. They play hurt to the point that it's scary. They play through shit. Normal mortals like you and I, like, ooh, my knee twinged the other day. I better lie on the couch and watch 4 seasons of Scrubs. They're like, I block shots with my face in the preseason because I'm crazy like that. And my checks every 2 weeks look like I just bought a house in Airdrie.
Did you just buy a house in Airdrie?
No, I don't play in the NHL. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you get a check every week for like $400,000,
yeah,
bought a house in Airdrie.
I went on a boat tour when I was in Canmore a few summers ago.
This is going to be an interesting bridge to cross between your story and mine.
And on the boat, so we're going, and there's like, okay, there's the main street, and then he was like, we're gonna go around this bend. And that's where all the NHLers and oil executives
here we go.
And he like went and showed us like this player lived here, this player sold that house, this player lives here, blah, and like a bunch of them all have just these fucking huge shacks out in Canmore. It's crazy.
Canmore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which would make sense. I mean, you're not gonna like buy a house in Jasper or whatever. You can't really.
There's a player we'll say he was the captain of the Ducks for a long time.
Okay.
His house, it's on 2 levels, like his cabin at a lake, and he tees off on the top level, and he has a green on the roof of the lower building.
A little chipping area and whatever.
But he's hitting like full wedges.
Oh, wow.
It's extravagant. It's what you do when you've won Lord Stanley as the captain and you've hoisted the cup and you're just that loaded. There's a lot of players, I think, from like the 90s and the O's that are staying at their cabins year round now with like $30 million in the bank and they don't know what to do.
Oh, I know there's guys like that.
They go golfing every day, and that's the game plan till death.
Like, we only ever hear of the horror stories of it, of like, this player's now broke, look how sad. But there are, like, think of in the NHL right now, an average run-of-the-mill kind of player. Like, if Kyler Yamamoto's career ends after 6 years, he's going to have $18 million in the bank, probably.
Well, no, he'll have grossed 18.
Grossed 18,
so he'll have received a third of it.
Yeah. But still, $6 million is so much money. And he'll be like 30 years old, and he can just go buy like $1 million shack and hang out for a few years and do whatever. Let some of it sit off to the side. Like, we hear all the horror stories, but you're right. There are players who, they signed one big ticket. It was crazy. They grossed like $28, $30 million.
Silent majority. I always thought it would be interesting to see a show. Like, remember NHL Cool Shots? Do you remember the concept of that show? But I want to go see people who've made it, who aren't fucked up in retirement.
Just chilling.
Like Sergei Fedorov. I want a camera crew to find Sergei Fedorov in Russia in his silver Lamborghini or whatever he's doing, and he's still fighting fit, and I want to see what his home gym looks like. I would watch that. Would you watch that?
Yes. So I was talking about that today on Daily Face Off Live, where like there's this Breakpoint series for tennis, and F1 had the big thing, which is pushing it to crazy popularity now in the States. I know it's always been popular around the world, and golf has one coming up, which looks unbelievable. And like, what a year to pick up a golf documentary last year, because that's where it tracks last year when Liv came in. So like, that's going to be unreal. And I was like, how cool would a documentary be in some way like that with the NHL?
Well, you could have the highly produced version, or you can just have a web version where to me doesn't require like the full team that these. Like the F1 show, I would never watch it because why would I watch Cars? That's what you get in to go to a sporting event. It's not an actual sporting event. Cars, that's like saying I watch Toaster. That doesn't even make any sense to me. How can watching a car drive around be? Anyways.
But the point is you watch and you fall in love with these for the stories.
It's the storylines.
Yeah.
And that, if the NHL could bring out content that actually shows, and they try with that Frozen, what the hell is that called?
Well, they did the Heritage or the Winter Classic one back in the day, and it was popular.
It was good.
It's really good.
The Oilers should have a show like that on Oilers Plus where you can see players' personalities and shit. Then people will sign up to Oilers Plus. Problem solved.
But see, the thing is, though, they have something similar to it, but what is it? It's G-rated.
Yeah,
it's signed off on by everyone on the team.
Stupid. It's like that stupid show Oil Change.
Yeah.
Where they're like, are you ready to have your mind blown by the fact that Tom Gilbert has a shoe collection? That was the fucking revelation of Oil Change.
So what I want to see is a show, one season around the NHL, where they follow around like 5 players. A star rookie, a star player, a guy towards the end of his career chasing a ring, a guy who's a tweener. Like I'm talking, you follow around, you get someone with a good personality, obviously, but like a Devon Shore type, where like their life is on the line and then you pick like a couple of those guys to round it out, and you pick just like a couple sort of demographics of the players.
Yep.
And you just follow how greatly different their experience is. The rookie getting his first checks.
Yep.
Right? Oh my God, because like the signing bonuses aren't crazy anymore. Like your first year with your bonuses,
bought a house in Airdrie every 2 weeks.
And then the guy who's a tweener who's just like, fuck, I'm getting sent back down today. Or like, shit, I'm on waivers. Like, it's going to be the worst day of my life. And then the superstar is making 10 million. It's like, yeah, I just spent 40 grand on Nike shoes. I think it'd be crazy to see the difference in wealth that goes on in the NHL.
I think that's the kind of stuff, though, that the like leagues are most loath to let you see.
Yep, 100%. Right?
Like, when you think about, I mean, I've talked to NHL players about this, like sitting next to a guy who makes 10 times as much money as you do, right? That's a bizarre thing. You don't have that in the private sector, really. You're like, you may have a CEO of your company,
but the gap isn't that large.
You're not sitting beside him on the plane.
Yeah.
You're not in the same hotel room with him.
Yeah.
You're not trying to go out to the clubs with him. And a lot of those big time players are the most neurotic out of everybody, right?
Yeah.
And like hockey players and professional athletes in general, they're very weird about, not all of them, but some of them are very weird about money. They're very dissociative of it. Right? So they're like, oh, I'm playing badly. I don't care that I just made 400 grand. And like the people who get locked into really long-term contracts at big money and don't perform, those are the people who will spend $40,000 on shoes. I saw an actor one time talking, I can't remember on what podcast, but he was saying that like when you get on a shitty show on CBS and they lock you in and they start paying you lots of money, those are the actors and actresses he worries about the most. Because they have all this money coming in. They don't really feel like they're earning it.
Yeah.
Right? And then they start going crazy.
There's like a guilt about it.
Yeah. Buying shit. Whereas like your hardworking 7th defenseman who makes 850 grand a year, he's like, whew, I'm earning every penny of this motherfucker. Yeah. But then you got a guy in the same team who's like on the back half of a legacy contract who's like, fuck, I haven't had a good year in 4 years. And like all the other players this is the kind of shit the NHL does not want to get out.
Yeah. That's fair.
But like going to Sergei Fedorov's house, that'd be all right.
That'd be cool.
Right? Where's Ollie Kolzig? That guy made trillions of dollars. It's got to be somewhere. Remember when it turned out Paul Correa was like surfing every day and has waterboard abs?
They just like dropped that in there. It was like Wednesday night hockey on Sportsnet. Paul Correa breaks his 20-year silence.
Here I am, and I'm good looking as hell. And it turns out that like there's really got to be more stories like this.
Hundreds of them.
Like Pavel Bure is now like getting pretty old, but he works. I think he's the president of the Women's Hockey Federation in Russia, which is one of them patronage jobs. He's got to have like an estate outside of Moscow with like fountains and shit. Show me those fountains. What's the PSI of the water of Pavel Bure's fountains? These are the kind of questions hockey fans want to know in 2023 and beyond.
I just feel like we don't get enough of it, or if it is, it's just super. It's not even.
It's Oilers Plus G-rated bullshit.
It's guarded access.
But guarded's fine. Like, this is where the NFL and the NBA and the F1 show is smart. They still have a tight grip on the storylines, but they're actually looking for interesting shit.
Yeah.
Not Tom Gilbert has a shoe collection. I wouldn't watch 1 second of Oil Change or Chuck. You should have seen me in those days at the Nation where everybody talked about Oil Change all the time, and I refused to engage because I knew what it was. It was garbage.
I haven't signed on to an Oilers Plus at all. Like I don't even know what the interface looks like. There's no
to
interest
watch
in it for me.
fucking press conferences? Give me a break.
If anything interesting happens, it's going to show up on my Twitter.
There is nobody in this world who would like to sign up to an amazing Oilers Plus and pay whatever it is they want every month than me. But it's just like watching oil change. I know I will smash my head against the wall, and I have a kid now, and I can't go out like that because he needs me, and he can kind of barely get downstairs on his own.
Is he really? He's moving like that?
He does, yes, yeah. He's a good little guy.
Nice. That's
He's mobile. He's 2.
Yeah.
So he's not talking much, but he's moving around. He says hockey, and the other night, he woke up in the middle of the night and wanted to watch hockey, middle of the night. When he couldn't, he lost his shit. Just like Dad.
Yeah, I was going to say, it just seems pretty on
Just
brand
like that.
actually for the whole thing.
He got the spirit. He's confused, but he got the right idea. You know what I'm saying?
Got to give some love to our friends at Tourism Jasper because we are heading right back out there. First off, Jasper in January is still on right now until the 29th of January. It is a fantastic winter celebration out there. Also, the Escape Card Marmot Basin, only $89 plus tax. You can get that one at the Tourism Jasper site as well. It is unbelievable everything that goes on this month in particular, including the Jasper Pond Hockey Tournament, and the On the Bench guys are coming back. And I had a chance to sit down with them earlier today and chat about the tournament and also some scathing comments they made about me earlier to the Barn Burner guys. We're going to pause for an ad, then jump into that conversation. Special edition of the Real Life Podcast. I am joined by Ollie and Jacob from the On the Bench boys. You know them, you love them. I got to meet them last year at the Jasper tournament, and we are all heading back. We had such a good goddamn time last year that we're running it back again. You guys fired up?
Oh, hell yeah. It's going to be a hoot. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're out for blood this year. Yeah, we're coming for the dub.
Well, okay, let's start here because, we met for the first time last year. I thought we had a good time. I thought we got along well. And then I'm listening to Barn Burner today, and you guys are calling us Trash Nation. You described me as an unmemorable person. What's the deal? What's the beef?
Doesn't sound like us.
Yeah, I think they had a soundboard. We like you're one of our boys. We'd never say that.
Yeah, it was really great to meet you, Tyson.
Yeah, I think it was a soundboard.
Yeah, it was all, it was AI, it was fake. So you know what, I'm just gonna, because of those comments, I'm getting right to my hard-hitting journalist questions. You guys last year were not on one team. You floated around to a lot of different teams. Is that a comment about the kind of teammates you are?
No, I think it's more about the skill level, because we're so much better. So,
well, I'm pretty toxic, so
you are,
yeah,
pretty bad. But then I even you out. Life's all about balance, right? So. Yeah, it's just like skill level because we dominate. We could go 2v8 and still dubs.
But I think we're looking to jump on a team this year. I don't know if I want to float around this year.
Yeah, well, I just want the dub.
Yeah, I just want a championship.
You guys are Calgary boys. Maybe the Flames Nation team makes a little bit of sense for you. I think they could use the help, honestly.
Yeah. They said their team is a little bad, so we might be jumping on their team for a couple, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great weekend out at the Fairmont JPL. We're going to have a hot stove on Friday night with our guy, Frank Saravalli, the insider, the NHL insider, Frank Saravalli. And then we'll have you guys kicking around as well, drinking, I'd imagine. What was your record last year? 120 cold ones you guys put back?
Something like that,
Yeah, we like to set records everywhere we go.
You guys are killing the content game as you usually do, especially around the World Juniors. And I like to think that you two have quite the impact on the youth around this sport. And I think that was apparent with the Michigan attempts for Team Canada. Do you guys take full credit for that style of play?
100%.
Yeah, we Hockey Canada had us out before the tournament, and that's all we were doing. And they got pissed, but it's like, that's all me and the boy, we were all working on the Michigans, and they're like, "Yeah, boys, let's focus up." We're like, "No." And then you saw it; they tried it twice, and then coach got pissed off. So,
but definitely all us play for the name bar.
Yeah,
play for the name bar. I think your quote on Barn Burner was, "They've never drafted a whole team; only one player gets drafted." Right, so it makes sense.
Yeah. You want to make it to the show, just play for yourself.
And you guys have great advice like that in the book you wrote. Who let you guys write a book?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah, it is a really good question, but obviously they did, and it was a smart play because we just ripped the bestseller list for 8 weeks straight,
Yeah, the spelling was a little awful, but I mean, they got computers to fix that, so.
Yeah, you just jotted down some random thoughts in there. I love the short forms you guys give a lot of things. Did you just call my question a Quessie?
Queshy.
Yeah.
All right. So let me take you through a little rapid fire style translation guide here before we get out to Jasper to make sure I'm all up to snuff on the kind of stuff you guys are saying. Short form for a few things I got written down here. Give me a stick, like hockey stick.
Twig. Rubber rocket.
Rubber rocket. That's a good one. Going bar down.
It's like bar south, bar maxi,
Bar China.
pipe music.
Yeah. Just Dustin Pipe.
All right. Do you have a short form one for the Michigan?
Mishy.
Just Mishy.
It's Mishy. It's classier that way, right?
Classic. Yeah.
No one cares about the Mishy. It's all Mishy.
Yeah, it's all Mishy. Only one of you guys wears a helmet, but what's the short form there?
Bucky or lettuce locker.
Lettuce locker, Bucky.
All right. I think that's enough for me, honestly. You guys had the clip. They had the clip playing on Barn Burner of you guys going up against Sagan and Ben. And the Tourism Jasper tournament is a 3-on-3 tournament. So I'd like to know, you guys in your style of play, we know all about it. Who is, if you could pick anyone, an ideal NHLer to complete you guys on your roster in this 3-on-3 tournament? Who is that?
That's good because I'm a super skill guy.
Then I'm like a super rushing stay-at-home D-man.
Yeah, you're stay-at-home. Well, what am I? I'm stay-at-home offensive, defensive, threatening forward, right?
You're more of like a stay-away. You're like an Airbnb forward.
Okay, so I'm like an Airbnb forward with like McDavid speed, Johnny Gaudreau edges, Crosby strength. Who's smart?
I mean, I'd probably take someone like super good like Michael Stone.
Why Stone?
Because then he just beats everybody up, blocks the biscuits, and we just go snipe him in. Easy play.
True, I guess. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, some big guy like Luch, you can just clear the way, and then we just dangy everyone.
Or Revo, because Revo would just be like unbelievable to play with.
Have you guys met Revo before? Have you done stuff with him?
Not
I don't
yet.
think we have. We challenged him to a fight, and he said no.
Yeah, he got scared.
That makes sense. The math checks out on that one. You guys have obviously, you made it on the outdoor rinks. You're big outdoor rink guys. Is there anything better than when you're out at the Fairmont JPL with that kind of a setting for an outdoor game? Like it's unbelievable.
It's the best.
You can't beat that view.
No. And like a lot of people don't play hockey. They go hike that stuff. They see it from the trails, but it's way different. Like 360 view in the middle of the ice. It is second to none.
And this year the tournament starts on Friday, so I'm hoping we get a little like under the lights action too, because that could only add to it.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Friday night, right? Is that when it starts?
Friday nights when it starts.
Yeah.
So I know last year you guys obviously didn't drive to the tournament. You skated your way there from your homes in Airdrie. Same plan this year. You guys are probably got to get going right away then, eh?
Last 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're gonna fly into Edmonton, and I actually had to rush get my driver's license so we can drive down.
Yeah, we're gonna drive this time. Jacob, DJ, like you said, he just got his license, and so we're gonna borrow Grandma's car in Edmonton and rip down.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this conversation has been riveting, boys. And if you're a listener and you're like, hey, I want more of this, or if they want to see you guys in action, because you are the big draw of the tournament, chehockey.com. That is where you can sign up to get in on the Tourism Jasper tournament. We had an absolute blast last year. You guys didn't even come close to competing with us in the tournament. So I wish you guys all the best and maybe getting a sniff of us this year.
Well, you got jokes, you remember to check.
All right, you guys stay safe. We'll see you in a week.
All right, thank you. Sign up, everyone. Come to Jasper.
All right, there you go. That's the On the Bench guys.
You know what? I'm actually happy I didn't have to sit through that shit again. I only had to listen to you do it live once. I thought we were going to have to sit here and actually listen to the entire interview, but due to the magic of computer screens, you just said, and that's that, and that was only like 1 second later.
They are so interesting because like I follow them on Instagram. I'm subscribed to them on YouTube. They have almost 500,000 Instagram followers. They have 168,000 YouTube subscribers. They are some of the biggest voices in hockey, which is crazy because they're two guys from Calgary who just started filming themselves doing just wild shit. But they've grabbed onto this demographic.
They knew what they were doing, though. I remember we came in contact with them right early on because we like to keep our finger on the pulse. And like out of the gate, they had an agent. So this wasn't like an accident that suddenly they had a GoPro and just happened to film themselves doing an intricate sketch. These guys set out to make what they made.
And now they do shit like they're always doing content with NHLers. The NHL brings them around to events. They've been to like all-star games and all that stuff. They got like crazy ass brand deals. It's wild.
The YouTube numbers are the most amazing because you can't really fake YouTube subs.
No.
Instagram.
You never know. Yeah. But the YouTube is crazy. And when they were at this event last year, you could have had insert NHL star there. Kids run up to these guys. Like, I joked to them a little bit about it, but like they really do have a stranglehold on the 10 to 14
You cannot say stranglehold in 10 to 14 on a podcast. Isn't that horn that just went off outside? That's the you're going to jail alarm. Honk, honk.
But it's crazy, like the pull they have on kids, and like kids were running up to them.
That's my nightmare. That's my worst. That's what you had going on in Vegas, I heard it was like Justin Bieber came in the club when you came in the romper.
Well, that's
people were just blowing their minds.
That's just me getting to like meet Oilers fans and all that.
But in the romper, lit out of your mind.
Out of my mind, wearing a nation flag as a cape.
That's the way to do it.
It's quite
the
vibe.
How did they know you were you, I wonder? Just trying to keep it on the DL as these guys are going around with a helmet on in public.
Yeah, and
when they take the helmet off, is there a change in character?
No, that is just who they are.
That is just who they are. Well,
it is. They are true to themselves.
Imagine making a fake name and making hockey content, your MJug. I wouldn't be caught dead.
Not
in that
you.
Incel category of hockey blogger fake name content people.
They'll be out at Jasper with us, and we'll be slamming beers. I think you can still sign up. CHEhockey.com is where you can get more info on the big tournament that's coming up. And as always, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Montana's. They have a new comfort food menu that just dropped. It is legit. And also, if you head in there to watch a game, you can win a trip for 2 to the NHL Awards in Nashville or a Molson branded NHL fridge. The NHL, it's really one of the only leagues that does the full-on award show.
Yeah.
But I love the way they do it of like, listen, could we be fair and sprinkle this around? So like Columbus gets the awards when no, we will rotate between Vegas and Nashville because the players will go to Vegas and Nashville.
That makes sense.
If the NHL wanted to guarantee 100% participation in All-Star games every year, they'd put it in Vegas every year.
Yeah, you're not talking wrong.
Right? Like
the All-Star game is terrible though. Like the music. It's like these people that they get to pick NHL music have been living in an underground nuclear bunker for 25 years, and they unseal it. These people come up and the steam comes out, and they're like, quickly, what's the most relevant band to you, guy who hasn't seen the sun in 10 years? He's like, I don't know, Green Day in 2021.
For the third straight year, Imagine Dragons.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh my God.
When they rolled out Green Day, and it was like Gary Bettman's like, ta-da! I'm like, Gary, do you honestly think this is a relevant band in this day and age? Remember when they hired that weird TikToker guy too to be like a brand influencer for the NHL? He like came out and did a dance at his first game and thought he was the shit, and everyone was just like, "What the fuck is this?"
They've swung and missed hard on a few things.
At least they're trying.
Yeah, but I also think that's what you get when you have a focus group that's like
of 80-year-old investment bankers
trying to be like, what do the kids like?
Yeah, get some kids in here.
Yeah,
you know what they like? Strangely, they like on the bench, and those guys figured it out, and at least they get invited to shit. Like, at least they're not that tone deaf.
No. And yeah, they get around. They were like, with the Chicklets guys at these tournaments, and they basically spend their winters going to different hockey tournaments around North America and just being themselves, showing up, playing a little bit.
They're like the
taking pictures and going home.
Slapshot guys, the Hanson brothers.
Yeah.
They're like the 2023 Hanson brothers.
That's actually a great way to put it, because now those guys make a life of going to like the collectible shows and like
those poor bastards. Or the one guy's like sick and doing like a GoFundMe and shit.
They're not doing great right now.
But they're getting old. What are you gonna do? They've been living hard. They've had a good run. Those boys have had some fun. Imagine the Hanson brothers top 5 nights where they're still at the bar wearing their glasses and like, oh my God, the shit. If you have even the most remote amount of fame and you're moving around like Flint, Michigan in like 1996,
you're making the cross Canada tour, stopping in like not small towns, but like intermediate cities kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, you have some great stories.
Hamilton and that one night in February when they ran into Leonard Skinnerd at the bar.
Yeah. Remember that time we were in Brandon and we went to Winnipeg and Metallica had just played. Like they
probably loved
had so
us and we partied with them all night. It's nothing wrong with getting old and needing to GoFundMe to replace your teeth, but it's what are you remembering when you're old? And if it's a life like that, there's no fucking. You've done a good job. You'll remember that when you're old and your teeth are falling out. You'll be like, shit. Remember when I talked to Connor McDavid at the All-Star game? That was a highlight of my career. Your M-check.
I think I want to go back this year to the All-Star game.
You should.
In Miami. I mean, who could turn down a chance to go to Miami?
You just got to get a crazy quote that we can play for the next 20 years and monetize as a result.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get Connor to admit that they're going to have a kid or something.
Can you imagine if I broke the Yesa Pugliarvi healthy scratching? So... maybe me breaking the McDavid child isn't far off.
Okay, what about this as an idea? To pay for your trip to the All-Star game, just get Connor in an interview to say the words, I am having a kid, and then we'll deep fake it. So it'll look...
Dub it all together.
The reason I say this is I had a dream that Connor and his lovely girlfriend, Lauren Kyle, were having a baby.
Okay.
And it was like Prince William circa 1982.
Yep.
And I think that one day, God willing, if these two crazy kids stay together, I can't imagine Connor McDavid is a good boyfriend. Lauren Kyle clearly is an angel. If she sticks with the boy and they have a kid, Edmonton's going to lose its shit if my dream was any indication. It was like a countdown clock during the CTV news in the corner.
I think it'll just be a real like, wow. Like for me, it'll be like, I'm getting old. Like, Connor McDavid is getting to the age where he's having children.
But maybe he'll be like Sidney Crosby and be like, I'm not having a kid until I'm retired because I don't want to lose sleep. He may.
But actually, you know what's interesting is that for the most part, McDavid's lived a more outgoing life than Crosby.
Well, yeah, yes, that's fair.
And part of that is because we're in the market. So like we see him more and we see more interactions with him. But I think like commercials aside, we've gotten glimpses into McDavid's personality that like when I think of the most memorable off ice moments of Crosby's career, number one is that time he got the mumps. And I think that might be it.
Have you ever seen Sidney Crosby?
Tim Hortons commercials.
Sidney Crosby's girlfriend?
I saw she was there when they did a night the other day. I didn't even know he had a girlfriend, though.
But I think that this is the point with Sidney Crosby, is he wants to just keep everything super under wraps. And he can probably move around Pittsburgh much more freely than Connor can.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Keep the hat low kind of thing. And no, if
as long as you're not Big Ben Roethlisberger.
Connor could wear a ski mask and people would be like, McDavid, got him.
I think that works for Connor, though, because like Connor, I don't see him having many interests outside of hockey. You can't.
Yeah.
If you're that great, your interests are biometrics, pliability.
Well, like when Gregor talked to him and it was like, what do you do? Oh, I play fantasy football. It's like, there you go. There's your outside hockey interest.
Oh,
like
did he get him on that?
Yeah. He was talking about the Oilers Fantasy Football League as a team and all that shit. But like, that's pretty much it.
When Zuckerberg went on Joe Rogan, right? He couldn't even get Zuckerberg off his talking points. Like he couldn't get him. Like the on the bench guys won't break character. Zuckerberg wouldn't break character either. Because they're just so singular that they don't have an off switch, right? It's like Elon Musk. Like very rarely can you get him talking, not in a podcast, about his talking points about going to Mars and shit, right? And I think Connor's the same way. If you're that great, you just don't have other interests and shit like that. But what he should do is have a fucking kid. Because in my dream, he came out of the hospital. I think he looked like Prince William kind of in my dream. And he held up this little baby. And I could see its face in my dream. And I was like, ah! And then I woke up.
But you wouldn't watch Oil Change.
If it was about Connor's baby, I would subscribe. If they made a show about Connor's baby on Oilers Plus, I would be subscribed within 20 minutes. Do you see this Charlie Woods content they're just pumping out at the PGA?
Oh, my God, yeah.
They're like, we finally figured out a way to rehabilitate Tiger's image. Make him a dad. And thank God he's got a prodigious kid. Charlie Woods is already probably top 5 most promoted PGA players.
Yeah.
And he's 14.
If you were to ask like the run-of-the-mill sports fan who has no interest in golf, like, name me 5 golfers. I bet you in there they'd probably go, Tiger's kid's pretty good too now, right? And it's like, well, he's 11 or whatever, 14.
I think he's 14.
Yeah.
But it's crazy that tournament that Tiger still plays in with him.
Yeah.
In the last 12 months, the difference. Like, I went back and looked. Last year, Charlie's like just some kid. Now he shows up with like a fucking mustache and his neck is thick. And he's like, hey, Dad, what's going on?
I think we talked about this last week. They all blend together.
Well, it's still amazing.
It is still amazing.
He's got the touch, too. He's got the same swing.
I wanted to ask you, how many Oilers games have you been to this year in the building?
0.
You haven't been to one, eh?
Not one.
Not one. Okay.
Last playoffs, I went to 3.
Okay.
And I want to go.
Yeah.
I think it's really important.
I wanted to talk to you about the in-game presentation because just now, like we were in Vegas, when we were in Vegas last week, I kind of tried to like keep an eye on what they do, and their pregame thing is wild. Mm-hmm. And there were some locals there who were kind of like, on a Tuesday when you just want to come watch the Knights, it's too much. And it got me thinking, like, man, Edmonton actually does. And when I was sitting there paying attention in Vegas, the Oilers in-game is actually really solid. Like I like it compared to I went to a game in LA a couple of years ago before the pandemic, and I was like falling asleep in my seat. Oh, dude. It was terrible.
Oilers games of yore, like when Don Metz was running the in-game shit. Oh my God, man. They would shoot little music videos, basically. Like they had one time out at Capitol Raceway. They had all the Oilers, like the good Oilers, like LaRock and Smitty and shit, racing cars. Yeah, I remember. And like when they came
leather jackets and shit.
Oh my
it was
God.
Hard.
When you would go to games and the fucking oil rig would come down from the roof and they would show them like Smitty driving in a Thunderbird. Like, wow, did they do a good job now looking back? Because I never went to any other places as a kid. I didn't have any frame of reference. But like, if you were somehow able to get good footage of those games, like the reactions of the crowd and shit like that, when we brought Larvin into the game, we went and saw him. He was like sprawled out in like 12 seats because he's such a bear of a man. And he goes, "Oh, I love coming to Oilers games. It's so relaxing."
It's like, what?
You should see George LaRock drive a Thunderbird, Larvin. That was shit. I thought they were going to make the oil derrick part of the pregame presentation again.
I thought they were too, and I thought they were, instead of bringing it down, because the issue is the Jumbotron, right?
Yeah.
Hangs too far. I was like, I mean, you could probably get a pretty light standing oil rig that you just get a couple of the orange and blue ice crew to just wheel out of the tunnel, right? Like carry it out and prop it up. It doesn't need to be that big.
It needs to come down. Man, so back in the day.
The vibe of it coming down is great. I do agree.
You go to Oilers games back in the day. They'd turn the lights down. All right, now we're already freaking out, right? And then they'd start releasing that poisonous gas. And you're like, oh my God, the smoke machines are firing. And everyone would be looking up at the oil rig waiting for this rickety ass son of a bitch to come down. And in its last home stretch, it actually conked out halfway down. Do you remember this?
I remember the game, and then it kind of like, it almost like gave out on half and like swung a little bit.
Like over the bench like a pendulum.
The players were like, Tom Gilbert's like, I'm going to die here.
And Derek Cates is like, this is going to get me a new arena for sure. Tom Gilbert's like, my shoe collection.
Daryl Cates is standing in the catwalk with scissors.
Probably.
Try to see city council say no now.
So is that the voice you think Daryl Cates has?
Yeah.
Like the Hamburglar? If you go and look at the games now, yes, it is solid. They do a good job. The scoreboard is majestic.
It's beautiful.
The noise level is good.
Yeah.
The drum and bass crew will never be the Octane.
I like that orange and blue crew.
That's fine, but they'll never be the Octane. The Octane, man, you don't understand. Like, having said that, like, on the bench boys are appealed to 12-year-olds, they have it a little bit with Hunter, but, like, you would see Octane, they would go to shows. Like, they would go into the community. They go to, like, Athabasca and do a show in the gym for kids. You'll never see the Oilers touch that shit with a 10-foot pole.
No, they got the mascot with abs now.
But when they retired the Octane, all that community work was done. And you'd see kids in the concourse with Octane getting photos like they were standing next to Justin Bieber, except the Octane were gals. So, a celebrity of the time. Shakira.
Sure.
They don't have that shit anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody taking no photo with the drum and bass crew.
I just think they're cool.
They are cool.
And they got some funny bits,
but they're not
if you go there, yeah.
I'm not saying that they don't play a good drum. But I'm just saying that they're not celebrities. They're not icons. You wouldn't get a calendar made of them.
I'll be honest, this is probably the first time I've thought about Oilers Octane since I'd even say the year before.
I loved the Oilers Octane on and off the ice. They were the best. And I had a calendar.
Yeah, that was...
the majestic halls of Wanye Manor for years after it was out of date, remained an Oilers Octane calendar up. And visitors would say, why is that there? And I'd say, why isn't that in every house in town, like a photo of Kim Jong-il in North Korea? It adorns every wall. That's what they should have done with Octane calendars.
Fair enough.
You know what, Ramchuk? You've checked out, and I don't appreciate that, because it's just the two of us, and this could be the greatest podcast we ever do, except that you mentally are thinking about the on-the-bench boys and whether or not you're going to get to wet your whistle in the saloon afterwards.
I could go for a beer.
Right now?
I mean, it's 158.
I thought your girlfriend said you're not allowed to do
I
anything
know,
but play
I'm
NHL
not.
and
It's killing
drink
me. It's
cups
killing
of
me. I had to
apple
go to
juice.
curling the other day, and I couldn't drink while I curled. Do you realize what kind of punishment that is to someone?
That's a sporting event. You should be able to get away with drinking while curling.
I'm trying to keep it tight and on the rails because I know Jasper next weekend is going to be a little unhinged.
Well, it's a performance-enhancing drug when it comes to curling. Did you see Michael Jordan said that he went golfing with Jeremy Roenick on a playoff game day and drank? They played 36 holes, and he drank 10 beers and then went and made 51 points that night?
I have a funny feeling. Well, that story is true, but I have a funny feeling the amount of beer. It's one of those things, right, where it's like, oh yeah.
But Roenick said 11 beers.
I know, but I'm saying like, when Roenick first told the story 20 years ago, it was probably like 4 beers. And then
you think?
Yeah, and then he like hypes it up a little bit. But they're having a bunch of stories. I mean, if you watch The Last Dance, like MJ would go golf, then be like, oh, playoff game in an hour and a half. Son of a bitch.
And Robin would play shitface sometimes.
Yeah.
I remember, was that on The Last Dance that they talked about how somebody said they could like smell Rodman he'd go to Vegas and gamble all night.
And they'd have to like call him and be like, are you coming to the game tonight? He's like, yeah, I'm getting on a plane.
And he'd get in there and just make like 20 rebounds and shit.
Who was I? I was talking to some.
See, now you're back. Now we're
there was a former NHLer we had on the DFO rundown. I don't think it was Kevin Lowe. No, actually, it might have been Kevin Lowe. And we were like, hey, you golf a lot? Yeah, I golf a lot. What's your dream golf foursome? And they were like, oh, I've already played in it. It was me, Gretz, someone, and we were at this event down in Vegas, and we played 9 holes with Tiger. And it was like, what the how? And they're like, yeah, it was crazy. It was like young Tiger. He was huge, obviously. Yeah. But like, it was like a sportsman's event and like at this golf course in Vegas. And the Oilers had like, or whatever there. And it was, the 3 of us.
So Kevin Lowe, you think played golf with Tiger Woods?
I don't remember it was Kevin Lowe.
Crazy.
It was some, how do I not remember this? I need to go back and look.
If you're Tiger Woods, wouldn't you be like declining all those? It's money probably. But
it was
like the last thing I'm doing is playing 9 holes of these fuckwads.
But it was like 20 years ago or something, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, or more than 20 years ago, I'm sure. But oh man, I really want to find out who that was. See if I can go add the clip into here.
Charlie telling Tiger on that Instagram clip that he pushes him but knows where to draw the line, and then Tiger being like, "We know where to draw the line, right, son?" And then the PGA is like, "The end." Tiger, you don't know when to draw the line. That's the whole problem. How dare you look down at Charlie and tell him you know where to draw the line?
Career Tiger.
Good God, it's amazing that like you can have the moral. I don't even know what you would call it. The confidence in yourself to be like, yes, I fucked up every single part of my life, but I'm still going to hard parent you, Charlie. I think he's way better than Earl was to him, though.
It was Mac T. That's who it was. Episode 130 of the DFO Rundown. If you want to go back and listen to it, it was Gregor, Saravalli, and Mac T. And they asked him, who's your dream golf pairing? And he was like, it was me, Gretz, someone, some point, and we golfed with Tiger Woods.
Damn. Who would be your dream
Dream golf group. You were about to just straight up say dream foursome.
Well, I was going to say,
we can't go
who's
that
your
way.
dream foursome? But yeah,
golf.
Golf, I guess.
I would want one pro in there for sure.
A dream foursome is hard to put together. That's
is
a lot of legs.
Yeah.
You know?
My dream golfer, I want a pro that plays right now so I can watch and just like see how fucking automatic they are. So my favorite golfer right now is Justin Thomas. So I'm throwing JT in the mix. I'm super one-dimensional, right? So I'm trying to pick people who are outside of sports.
Yes.
Who I'd mix into there.
Ooh, interesting growth.
Yeah. But again, I'll throw Drake in there. I'll golf with Drake. I wonder what kind of golfer he'd be. I'm sure he does a little bit. He's a sports guy.
Yeah, you're right.
So I got Justin Thomas and Drake. It's a hell of a start. And now I get to pick one more. I think I'm dipping right back into the athlete side of things. And I'm picking my current favorite athlete in all sports, which is Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills.
The quarterback.
The quarterback. Because I think he's the kind of guy. I think I got a good mix here. I'm going to be watching a pro golf. I got Drake vibes. Great. And then I got Josh Allen, who I think would put back 24 beers with me. So that's my dream. That's my dream golf group.
Drake could drink too. He's a boozer.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's always got a glass of something going. Yeah. That's incredible. You know, one thing about Drake that blows my mind, when you think about a world where rappers want to be actors, and actors want to be rappers, and sports players want to be actors, and everybody wants to be something that they're not. Drake has must have turned down so many offers from Hollywood, man.
Oh yeah.
He's he could have been Will Smith. Now, musically, he's destroyed Will Smith, meaning he could have had a movie with a soundtrack, and surely to God, somebody's pitched him like $20 million to be in a rom-com. The fact that Drake has not touched an acting role, but acts so much in his videos, blows me away. It's one of the reasons why I love Drake the most. He never sold out. He's not in like, a movie with Gronkowski, and he gets $38 million to do it. Like,
he's not in like some weird modern version of like an Adam Sandler movie where it's like all his boys.
He plays a rapper, but it's kind of him.
Yeah.
Like he has the acting chops, I would argue, to have had a full comedic acting career if he was so inclined.
I also do think there's a little bit of him that lets the acting side of himself flex in his online personality.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the making fun of Drake thing now where he's making fun of Drake and some of the shit he does, and I'll be like, you posted that because the memes are all on it.
Oh, of course he does. And he has a team of people that also help him with social, right? Okay. But I think I saw an interview, I think it was with Zane Lowe. You remember that guy from Apple Beats? He has like a podcast on Apple Music, and he interviewed Drake. Anyways, Drake did this big, long sit-down interview in his big-ass mansion in Toronto. And he said that he's just like, it was such a crazy thing to become a rapper that he doesn't want to like press his luck. He really wants to do music.
And so he'll just
he's like, I don't want I'm a musician. And that's cool.
Yeah. And he gambles on stake.com.
Stake pays for every penny. When Drake, they know what they're doing. When Drake says, I bet $1 million on LSU, they get $10 million worth of press.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000. It's like Drake's playing $1 million spins on stake. And it's like, I'm sure he is. Don't worry. But the internet goes nuts for it.
That's the best endorsement of a gambling product by any celebrity is Drake and Stake. Don't you think?
Probably.
Plus the names sound alike. Drake Steak.
Maybe that's his next business venture.
An actual meat steak.
An actual meat steak.
Trump had steaks.
Work out well for him?
Became president. It's hard to say what led to it. It's all very strange.
I was thinking about this last night because there's that story about how he could have bought the Dallas Cowboys for super cheap, right?
Trump?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear this.
Yeah, it's a thing where like the Cowboys were up for sale. Trump apparently went into the bidding process and then like pulled out.
Before or after the USFL? Do you know?
I think it was before. That's why he went to the USFL. Oh. Like he could have bought them around when Jerry did or something.
Oh boy!
If
Jerry Jones got him cheap.
Then Trump had a chance to do that, but he like passed on it. Said it was a bad business idea. And I know there are some other like details in there that maybe I'm fucking up.
I don't need the Dallas Cowboys. What I need is a new unheralded league called the USFL.
But last night I was like, what is the timeline like where he does buy them? What does the world look like right now in a world where Trump is just Jerry Jones?
I mean, this gets us down a very
dark
and what words we're going to say for keywords and this sort of thing.
Yeah. But anyways, I just thought that was fascinating. Crazy. I was like,
it would probably be a lot better place if that's how the timeline had come out.
Who knows? Wow. I'm always fascinated by that stuff. But last
night
specifically,
effect? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like the butterfly effect of like,
Yes. This has been a good podcast.
Sometimes I'll think about that when like I'll be like driving home. You like hit a yellow light and you go through and you're like, did I fuck something up in the timeline? Was I supposed to stop there? Should I?
Have you ever had it where you've been delayed, annoyed, and then saw a close call afterwards and you thought if I wasn't delayed by that thing, I would have just been hit by that freight train?
Okay, I would have been fine, but yesterday I leave the car wash and the door of the car wash was being funky. So it was one of those where you just drive up to it and it's supposed to open automatically. And I sat there for like 4 minutes. And the door wasn't opening. The guy eventually had to come like beep, 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 hit a little key of buttons and the door open. I drive out. I'm waiting in an intersection to turn right. And it was on St. Albert Trail. So it's like a pretty busy part here. And then just fucking out of nowhere, this lady in a Porsche, she has a double red. She cannot turn left. She just goes, just turns left. And one car like swerves. Another one just fucking hammers the brakes. And you heard like,
damn.
And I looked at this lady and she was literally just driving straight face, like turned left. And then I look up and a truck that delivers water had rear-ended a car.
Because of her.
I don't know. I didn't notice it before. No, it wouldn't have been before because the one person was in the front, like you can see digging through their glove box. And I'm like, that accident just happened. I just about watched a lady die in her SUV because she, for some reason, was like, you know what? They'll stop for me and went. And I was like, I would have missed all of this if the door had opened on time.
One of my favorite, they say at the end of the day, it's the little things in life
that
are the most important to embrace. one of my favorite moments of being a human is when you see somebody colossally fuck up in traffic and then you pull up next to them and you're just like, and they're like, I've seen people because I live in the River Valley and there's lots of weird one ways and people always fucking stuff up. And I'll see people like just barrel through yields, all sorts of crazy shit. You take nothing at face value in the River Valley. And then you pull up next to them and it's like they're in this bubble and they're just like staring straight ahead and they got bug eyes and they're just like, damn. And I'm just like the moral rightness I feel pulling up next to somebody in traffic, like that lady in that Porsche.
Yeah.
You're just like, you fucked up, bitch.
And I don't even think she noticed. She was just like, oh, well.
She's like, I don't care. I'm listening to the new Taylor Swift album, and she's convinced us all that we're the problem. It's me.
So yesterday I'm driving. It was right after this. I had quite the eventful drive out to Sherwood Ford yesterday.
This is why you hate leaving the bubble, right?
Yeah. I'm going down the Henday, and I am going, 110 in the fast lane, which is a decent speed. Some people might say that's too slow to be in the fast lane. Yeah, in the nation truck.
Respect.
I can't go 120 in the nation truck,
You're
people.
going to get pulled over.
But there was some traffic that I wanted to get past. I'm going 110, and then I look behind me, and there's a truck coming up pretty quick. And I was like, oh, I will be courteous, and I'll move back over now because someone wants to go quicker than me. I'm a good driver. Don't come at me is my point here. So I signal, and as I'm turning over, I see this guy behind me who's ripping, starts going into the other lane too.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, oh, fuck, this is awkward. So I was like, no, fuck it. I'm going into the slow lane because I don't need to be going this fast. And then this guy cuts back to the left and lays on the horn. And I was like, what is going on right now? Why is this person honking at me? And then the guy kind of looks at me, and I just kind of like gave a look back, like, what's going on here?
Because it's the nation truck?
I get to Sherwood Ford. I check my Twitter. Lance, who listens to my show every day, and I think he's a real life listener. So Lance, shout out to you. I was confused. I didn't mean to be a dick. Lance was like, I pulled up and honked at Tyler, and all he did was glare at me. And I got a kick out of that because I was like, maybe.
This is why I don't want to drive a vehicle.
That's why I can't flip people off in the nation truck.
Exactly. I can't give my bug eyes of judgment.
Yeah.
And every time weird shit would be happening in traffic, I don't want people looking at me at the light. Do they look at you at the light?
Yeah. I get people. Or one guy looks at me and goes, you can see him mouth like, are you the Oilers Nation?
Yes.
And I was like, what else would I be?
Yeah,
the truck is very clearly
just
marked.
a huge fan. I'm like the Avatar guy. Was I in Avatar? No. I just got the head to toe tattoo.
Yeah. So anyway, shout out to Lance. That was a bit of a misunderstanding. I thought you were just trying to cut me off.
I pull up next to people who have nation stickers on, and I smile at them as though we're going to be best friends. 9 out of 10 times, people mean mug me. I'm like,
that's what I do like about the truck is when I see a nation sticker, I'll be like, I'm going to try to pull up to that guy, see if
what
they
do they like,
and
"Oh."
I'll usually like head nod, or sometimes people will be like, and double take and be like, go.
"Hey."
I stopped to let someone across the crosswalk at Nate the other day in the nation truck. And it was a guy who I did know, to be fair, from junior high. And he's crossing the street and he looks and he sees the nation truck and he points to his headphones. He goes, I'm listening to you.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was like, whoa, what a weird trip that would be. You're like walking, you're like, oh, your M-Chuck's takes today. Like, blah, blah, blah. And you look, you're like, holy fuck, there he is right there in the nation truck.
The other day, you'll enjoy this story. It's about you. I was watching you on YouTube while watching you do Oilers live on my phone. And I was like, Jesus, this is too much of your M-Chuck. Hello.
That's why I don't do our post-game show very often, because I'm like, you know what? The people have had enough.
You are
Give them
everywhere.
Connor Howley.
You're Visa. You're everywhere you want to be. That's what I say.
Fair.
This is a good show. In an alternate universe where there's just 2 of us, we could make this work.
Yeah, once you yelled at me for not paying attention, I feel like we really hit our stride.
I feel like that adds to the overall non-sexual tension of the podcast, and people like it when people bicker.
Yeah. I'm usually zoned out because I have like 300 things going on. I'm literally onboarding a new podcast while we're doing this podcast.
And that's fair. I would love to know, you know how when like Harrison Ford, who was supposed to be Luke Skywalker, and there's always stories of actors turning down crazy roles.
Yeah.
Right? I would love to know the top 5 roles Drake has been offered in Hollywood that he turned down.
That'd be good.
What do you think he turned down? Did they try to do a Men in Black reboot with him? I bet you.
Oh, that's actually probably the easiest one to predict.
Like,
You'd
that's
imagine
the
this
thing.
shit
He
right
could. It would be so good. Men in Black reboot, Independence Day 2.
How many listeners right now are like, shut up about the Hollywood shit? Fucking Wanye.
Fuck. You know what? If you're tuning in here and you don't want to hear me talk,
So when I first came on to this podcast, I was like, oh, it's a hockey podcast. So I was like, keep it on the rails, talk hockey, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's an Oilers Nation podcast.
Sure.
I now need this podcast to be as little about hockey as possible for my own sanity.
Sure.
Of like, I do 3 other hockey podcasts a day. I cannot have this one just be all hockey.
this is real life. Why this show is called Real Life is if you sit down to shoot the shit with Gregor and Strudwick in season 1, I don't want to talk to them about the same shit they're talking about on their radio show every day.
Otherwise, I'd listen to the radio show.
Exactly. I wanted to talk about real life. So when you sit down to talk with your buddies, that's all we're doing here. We're not in character. We're not the on the bench boys. We are. Well, I mean, I'm in character, but I'm always in character. It's
You're just your name is a character.
appeal of me is I'm always in character. But we're just sitting here talking shop. And yes, the Oilers come up.
But that's because it comes up when we actually want to talk about it.
Because it's a key part of our lives.
Not when we feel like we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I came busting into the office today filled with celebrity news for you, that's how we talk in real life.
You wanted to come in while I was doing my live show. You were like standing there
I
looking
had
at
to
me.
tell you about Beyonce.
I was like on camera. I keep like looking out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, don't come in, don't come in, don't come in, don't come
I
in.
was driving. I saw the tweet about Beyonce, and I was like, oh my God, I have to tell your M Chuck. And I like sped up to get here, your M Chuck.
All right. We're going to
see you zoned out again.
I did, because I noticed we hit the 1 hour mark. So we're going to wrap this bad boy up, give some love to our friends at Oodle Noodle. And of course, Montana's. You could eat so well if you just ate at the restaurants that sponsor this podcast.
Yes. Mostly Oodle Noodle.
Yeah, mostly. Well,
If you're only going to go to one restaurant and you're going to eat all your meals there.
the thing is, so you could just do the Montana's daily deals and have Oodle Noodle for lunch, and you're laughing.
I don't own Montana's.
But they're on the TV.
No, I know. But if you only had one place to pick, don't get me wrong, I love Montana's. I ordered it the other day. I told you.
You did.
It was delicious.
I also saw Bobby Ryan posted a photo of himself at a Montana's. And I was like, what are you doing, Bobby Ryan?
Getting that money.
He was like, I love Montana's. I was like, damn
That
right.
ain't free.
Bobby Ryan, part of our podcasting network.
Is he?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, in Ottawa.
Coming in hot, the Sens show.
Of course. That would explain the Montana's. It's the same ad deal.
It's the same ad deal.
We're splitting checks with Bobby Ryan.
Can you imagine if someone had told you that when you
I would
started the
know.
nation in 2010 or in 07, if in like 09, they were like, hey, Bobby Ryan, the guy who just got that big ticket from the Ducks.
The only guy in the world that wouldn't have been surprised with that news
Is
would be
you.
me.
Fair
I'd be
enough.
like, we signed Bobby Ryan, eh? Yep. The guy that didn't Kevin Lowe say that he like ruined his life by being drafted by the Ducks or something once, and that's why
Something like that,
Brian Burke wanted to fight him in a.
Oh, no, you're thinking of Penner.
No, but Bobby Ryan, he specifically said
Oh.
like somehow or other Bobby Ryan got sucked into their beef. At that point, if you'd told me we were going to work with Bobby Ryan, I'd be surprised. Like, that guy ruined his life. Why would he want anything to do with an Oilers fan? That's what I would have thought. What was it? You got to look that up.
Yeah,
Brian
well.
Burke and Kevin Lowe, and Brian Burke drafted Bobby Ryan to the Ducks, right?
That should actually be the next oral history you and Coombe do. Is an oral history of
beef?
the beef between Lowe and Burke. That'd be a great summer doc. And you
It really is bizarre. Like
and you could get Bobby Ryan on it now.
when we look at those old journal headlines and shit,
Yeah.
get Bobby Ryan on.
Probably, I don't know if you want Penner.
The old journal headlines, if you think the media is harsh now, you should read the Edmonton Journal in the like mid to late 90s. Like the writers, like Jim Matheson, the carve jobs they would do on these guys now, like Brian Burke wanting to fight Kevin Lowe wasn't even that crazy back in the day because there were so many insane storylines going on at all times. Dustin Penner blowing out his back eating pancakes. Remember these days?
Oh, yeah. And he had a couple good seasons here, too. And he led us getting Oscar Clefbaum.
When Dustin Penner ended his career, I saw him at a bar in California, and I was with a guy, and he said, "Hey, Dustin, are you playing next year?" And Dustin Penner turned around, and he had no teeth, and he was drunk, and he went, "I'd fucking doubt it." And that was the last time I ever saw Dustin Penner.
Last time any of us have. Because I've never seen him.
You never seen Dustin Penner? He's a big boy.
I know behind Liam now on the live show when he does it from home, he has a signed Dustin Penner jersey.
That's a
hanging there.
guy who did not associate with the money he was earning.
No.
That guy got a huge contract, and that was the worst thing that ever happened to him.
All right, we're going to wrap this bad boy up because we are well over an hour. The whole regular casting
Time
crew.
is money. Montana's
Yep.
only pays us for 60 minutes.
There you go. Everyone will be back on Monday, and we hope to see you then. Have a good weekend, everybody.